Hi, it's Paul here from selfhelpforlife.com, and today I'm going to talk about how to overcome self-sabotage today. Now, what is self-sabotage? Well, everything you do is either motivated towards love or pleasure or away from fear, hurt or disappointment, basically pain. So self-sabotage is like a defense mechanism. It stops you doing something that might hurt you. And in a way, it keeps you in your comfort zone. Now, anything different or unknown, your subconscious mind might block it, even though it is something that you really want. So self-sabotage then is any thought, feeling, behavior or action that goes against your bigger goals and dreams. So your logical conscious mind wants one thing, but your subconscious mind wants something else, or is fighting against you in some way. Now that subconscious mind, that bit that's fighting against you, some people refer to that as the anti-self because it's trying to do the opposite to what you want. Or it could be that inner critical voice that says you can't do that. But whatever that part is, it's trying to protect you. It wants to prevent pain, prevent discomfort and any fear. Now, self-sabotage can become very unconscious. You don't even know that you're doing it. However, these self-destructive behaviors can become habits, and those habits then undermine your level of success and happiness in life. Also, behind self-sabotage is a feeling of low self-worth. There's a feeling that you don't deserve to be successful. Now, there's many consequences to self-sabotage, and some of these include a feeling that you missed out in life and you don't quite know why. It can erode your self-confidence and level of self-esteem. It can affect your relationships or the ability to get into a relationship in the first place, and it can damage your reputation or your career. If you regularly miss deadlines, you underachieve, you're late for things because you're self-sabotaging yourself, then that can affect your long-term career success. So are you self-sabotaging yourself? The answer is probably yes. And why do I think that? Because everybody self-sabotages. Even the most successful people have self-sabotaged in the past. It's part of the human condition. We all do it. It's just a case of minimizing it and doing it as little as possible. So what are some of the self-sabotaging behaviors? So it could be not taking calculated risks, okay, so not taking action when there's a little bit of a risk involved. It could be an inability to say no to other people. It could be not thinking carefully before making decisions, so making rash decisions, or the opposite, overthinking, spending too much time before making a decision and then not taking action as a result. It could be having unrealistic expectations about yourself, so setting goals that are unrealistic and then you fall short. Or it could be unrealistic expectations about other people. It could be procrastination, so leaving tasks to the last minute. It could be perfectionism. And behind perfectionism is really a fear that I'm not good enough or this task is not going to be good enough, so I've got to make it perfect. And perfectionism can also lead to waiting for the perfect time to do something, and there's never a perfect time. Or wanting to get the perfect skills before acting on something. So I see this a lot with therapists. They think, I need to do another course before I can start seeing clients. So remember, you never have the perfect skills. You've just got to work with what you have and get better over time. Another way will be hesitating on a new challenge. So there's a new challenge or an opportunity and you hesitate on that, and then you miss out instead of seizing on that opportunity. And it could also be seeking comfort or reward. So maybe you've got an assignment to do and you think, oh, I'll just have a nice bit of cake first and maybe waste 20 minutes doing that before I start it. So just wanting some kind of comfort really to do that. So I'm now going to cover 10 ways to help you overcome self-sabotage today. So the first way is to become a self-sabotage detective. You need to find out why you're shooting yourself in the foot. So begin by identifying the actions, the behaviors, and then the feelings and the thoughts behind those that are leading to that self-sabotage behavior. Then ask yourself, what are the decisions that I'm making? What are the actions that I'm taking? And what are the choices that I'm making that are leading to this self-sabotage behavior? Then identify the triggers. So the triggers could be people, certain tasks, events, locations, or even certain times of the day. And then once you know what the triggers are, ask yourself, can I remove these triggers? And if you can, then go ahead and do it, because that's the really easiest step to do this, to overcome self-sabotage. But in most cases, it won't be that easy to remove the triggers. So the other ways I'm covering will help you with that. Now become aware of what your critical internal voice is saying when you're self-sabotaging. Is it criticizing you for past mistakes? Is it telling you that you're not good enough, that you can't do that? Or is it saying some other things like, this is too hard for you, you'll never amount to much, I'm a failure, success requires special traits that I don't have, oh, I don't deserve financial abundance, happiness and success. Or I'm not tough enough, smart enough, good enough, or something else enough. Or I can't do that. Or if I try, I will probably fail anyway. Or I'm too busy right now. Or this won't work. So as you're doing the self-sabotaging behavior, start writing down the thoughts that are coming to mind, those critical ideas that are coming, that are causing you to do that self-sabotaging behavior. And getting those out on paper will make it a lot easier to start changing those. Also watch out for very subtle internal self-talk and thoughts as well. Could be things like, I'm just fine on my own, when you're looking for a relationship and you're going through dating. So just saying to yourself, oh, I'm fine on my own. Or just be yourself. And people often say to yourself, just be yourself. For me, I think that's a really bad idea, because if you just be yourself, then you're never going to change, you're never going to improve, you're never going to become a better version of you. So that can be one. It doesn't seem negative, but actually is in a way. Or I deserve it. This could be when you're thinking of some kind of treat. I deserve a break, I deserve a treat, something like that. Or you're tired. So sometimes we are generally tired, but sometimes it can be just an excuse to not do something. Or another drink, another cigarette, another bit of cake, another bit of chocolate won't hurt me. Okay, so these are just these kind of comforting thoughts that can distract you from what you really want to be doing and cause you to self-sabotage. So the second way is to make your internal self-talk work for you. Now, self-talk, or that internal critical voice, is driven by fear. And 80% of self-talk in most people is negative. Even in the most successful people, they still have 80% of their self-talk being negative. So how do they deal with it differently? Well, they ignore it or they challenge it, and they don't believe that that self-talk is true. They just know it's just that voice going on in their head, and they don't really give it any airtime. So what you can begin to do is just assume that that negative self-talk or that inner critical voice is wrong. Do this for a week. Just assume that everything it says is wrong for a week. And then begin to replace that with positive, encouraging words. Words about what you can do. And these words don't need to be super positive. They just need to be the next positive step that you can do. That step that feels believable to you. And so ask yourself, what can I say to myself right now that is positive and encouraging and will help me achieve what I want in life? So the third way is to replace the negative behaviors with positive ones. So this is about replacing those old self-sabotaging behaviors with new positive and different behaviors. Because every action that you take either takes you closer or moves you further away from who you want to be and the life that you want to live. There's no static point. We're never standing still. We're either moving forwards or we're moving backwards. So ask yourself, what options do I have? What other ways could I do this? And also ask yourself, what is the obvious first step? And the key here is to take action in spite of how you feel. So even when you feel like not doing something, or you feel like doing the self-sabotaging behavior, just focus and consciously do the opposite, and then the opposite will become more habitual and more part of the normal way that you do things. So number 4 is to make the unknown more known. Now, people often self-sabotage when they don't know what to expect, because that creates a sense of uncertainty, and behind uncertainty is a feeling of fear and anxiety, and that's an uncomfortable feeling. So we naturally want to try and move away from that feeling, which is why you self-sabotage. So a way around this is to set really detailed goals and plans and create like a step-by-step roadmap to follow. That will give you some certainty, and that will really help. And then start to confidently start doing the steps, and that will help increase your feelings of confidence and feel that you're moving in the right direction as well. Then identify anything on that list that seems difficult when you think about it, and then start visualizing yourself in those situations, acting confidently and seeing those things go the way you want them to go. And it's much harder to self-sabotage when you have detailed goals and plans. And when you do, it's much easier to notice your self-sabotaging behavior consciously, because when you review those goals, you'll realize that you didn't achieve them, and you'll begin to think, well, why didn't I achieve it? And you'll then spot that self-sabotaging behavior. So it helps you to reduce the chances of self-sabotaging in the first place. And if you do, it will be much easier to spot the self-sabotaging behavior. So the fifth way is to boost your self-worth. Now, the higher your self-worth, the more you feel that you deserve whatever you are striving for. And the more deserving you feel, the less likely you are to self-sabotage. So to help boost your sense of self-worth, ask yourself the following questions. What have I done that is good? How have I helped others? What am I proud of? What am I good at? How have I positively impacted the lives of other people? And what is good about my life? Now, asking questions like these forces your subconscious mind to come up with positive answers. And that's why these kind of questions are really beneficial in improving your sense of self-worth. So number 6 is to play the pain-pleasure game. So unconsciously, there is always a positive intention behind any self-sabotaging behavior. And it's usually some way of avoiding any kind of hurt, pain, fear, sadness, disappointment, or rejection. Okay, so there's always that positive intention. So one way to get around this is to make the feeling of the pain of not doing it worse than the current pain that causes you to self-sabotage. So let's go with dating as an example then. So currently you're procrastinating, self-sabotaging on going out on dates because of a fear of rejection. So what you would do is you write down all the pain that you would suffer if you ended up being lonely for the rest of your life. Okay? And then write down all the pleasure you will have when you meet your soulmate. If you're self-sabotaging on diet and losing weight, write down all the pain and discomfort you will have later in life if you get something like type 2 diabetes and other complications of being overweight. That's going to be a lot more painful than that little bit of pain you have at the moment on sticking to a diet. And then note all the pleasurable things you will have when you've lost that weight and you've got to your ideal size. So the goal of the pain-pleasure game is to get the pain of not doing it to be much greater than the pain of doing it, or the pleasure to be much greater than the little bit of pain of doing it. And when you do that, unconsciously your mind will realize that the pain of you not doing that is far greater. So it then won't have that positive intention to that makes you self-sabotage in the present. So that's a really good way to do it, the pain-pleasure game. So number 7 is to interrupt the pattern. So remember that many self-sabotage behaviors become habits over time. So if we can interrupt the habit, then that's going to be beneficial to you. So let's say you're working on an assignment and you keep checking your phone for social media notifications. Then either put your phone on flight mode so you don't get the notifications, or you can download apps that will stop you going to certain websites and certain apps whilst you're doing a certain activity. You can do the same with your computer as well. If it's something like drinking too much, smoking cigarettes, or eating the wrong foods, then try putting those things in different places in your house where they're harder to get hold of, or even better, not buying them in the first place so they're then harder to do. And the great thing about interrupting the pattern as well is that you'll begin to notice when you're doing those self-sabotaging behaviors, which makes it easier for you to stop doing them as well. So number 8 is to question and then change your beliefs. So your limiting beliefs represent the upper boundary as to what is possible in your life, And when you reach that boundary, your unconscious mind will start to self-sabotage so you don't exceed it. So the way to get around this then is to identify your limiting beliefs and then start changing them. So pick an area of your life that you feel you're self-sabotaging at the moment, and then write down all the beliefs you have around that area of your life. Here's a couple of examples. Becoming healthy involves pain and sacrifice. Or becoming wealthy means that I will have no time and I'll have no life. Now once you've done that, you want to then come up with counter examples, so positive empowering beliefs. So the examples could be being healthy feels great and gives me massive energy. Or I can be wealthy and do this on my terms and have a life as well. Now, I did another video on the whole process of changing beliefs, which goes into a lot more detail on how to do that, and that video will appear up here right now. So number 9 is to get to the cause of the fear. So unconsciously, it's fear that's driving the self-sabotaging behavior. And what many people try to do is they try to repress it, they try to almost numb the fear, they basically don't acknowledge it. So instead, ask yourself the following questions. What is it that I am afraid of? What is scary about this? If it did happen, could I handle it? And is this fear more important than my desire for success? These questions will get you to face the fear and realize that it's not as scary as you originally thought. It won't make the fear go away, but it will reduce its power. So the last one, number 10, is to have an accountability buddy. Remember that self-sabotaging behavior is often unconscious, but it's only unconscious to you. It's often very obvious to someone else. So that's why a good accountability buddy is very helpful, because they will spot your self-sabotaging behaviors. Now, this could be a coach or a mentor, someone you pay to see, but it could also be a good friend, someone that can hold you accountable. And the other thing about having an accountability buddy as well is you're less likely to self-sabotage because you're accountable to that person. You need to own up to that person and explain why you did or didn't do certain things that you said you were going to do. So an accountability buddy is very, very useful and a great way to help you reduce self-sabotage. So these were my 10 ways to help you overcome self-sabotage today. This was a very practical video with lots of actionable steps, so I do encourage you to take the time to start applying these into your life right now. Now, if you enjoyed this video, do give it a thumbs up, please give it a like, and do leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. And do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and click the bell notification. That way you will always be notified whenever I release future videos. And do go and check out my website, that is selfhelpforlife.com. On there you will find the written versions to many of these videos, and also a link to my podcast and to social media as well. So I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to sharing more great content with you very soon. Bye for now.